right, welcome to Go for Lethal. This is the first episode of our One Piece TCG podcast. My name is Bonny. You may know me from Freestyle the News and other dumb shit. I don't care. And I'm here with Zack Chamberlain, Dean Khasanov, and Chris Okamura. How you guys doing today?
Good.
And we have a lot to talk about, especially right now with the One Piece TCG. So let's start off right off the bat. We are right now on the eve of Eb02, right? The new set that's going to come out. Ton of support for different types of decks. And Nell's getting some support. We don't know how that's going to be. And it's going to be a very different meta this time around, especially because of the ban list and especially because of the way the Western players play. Now, we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start it off real quickly with everybody here. In this new meta, what do you guys see, especially with things coming up? What decks right now that are performing in the tail end of OP10 do you guys see performing well into the Eb02 meta?
I think for Eb02, it all comes down to what competes with Green Purple Luffy, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of the meta where if you can't compete with it, it goes like you go away.
Yeah.
Because that dominates the meta. And like the ban lists, and we're not getting those starter decks until a little bit later. So the meta is pretty much stable for what it is in Japan and what it is in the East.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be GP and then whatever can compete with GP.
Well, very quickly, just so everybody knows, can somebody here describe specifically why Green Purple Luffy is such a dominant deck? I think a lot of people know when they see the stats of him dominating everything, but what is so crazy about that deck that just shuts down everything else in and around it?
A good synopsis of it is it's in the same way that RP Law was able to use Dawn minus effects popularly to spit out board and to spam board. GP Luffy does the same thing by reactivating Dawn and then using Dawn minus effect on your characters to bring Dawn back so that you kind of mitigate that Dawn minus ability on the leader. So basically, in my opinion, it is an RP Law that's locked to the Straw Hat archetype, right?
So just so people know, like the GP Luffy's effect is Dawn -2, you restand 2 Dawn, he gains 1k if there's only Straw Hats on the field, right? And then you also have Sanji Pudding there, where when you play out Sanji Pudding, you get back another Dawn. Yeah. So essentially you're getting 3 extra Dawn per turn. And then if you have more Sanji Pudding out, then it's just all hell breaks loose at that point.
You basically like free leader ability.
Free leader ability.
Then
and
it stacks, yeah.
And then everything, there's other cards too in this new set, especially, which is just basically like, hey, if you have equal to or less Dawn, you play it, you get an extra Dawn. Like Frankie, for example, you can pretty much play Sanji Pudding.
Better Zoro.
Exactly. Play Sanji Pudding, get 3, and then get 3 standing, you play Frankie, and you pretty much have gotten a free leader effect.
And then you got it too, where Frankie's also win attacking, so it's on play and win attacking.
Exactly.
So like even in like a Blackbeard meta, you put it on board, it's still a threat. It still needs to be handled with, even for a Blackbeard. So it's something that like the other issue that I think people don't bring up when you're talking about is the consistency. The deck runs 16 searchers.
Yeah.
So overall, like you're gonna have a good time, and then plus again with stage, right? Stage makes it so it's +2 costs on any one of your Straw Hats. So again, you put that on a Sanji Pudding and it's safe.
And there's also other really interesting support there too. You have that 4-cost Zoro that rests a character, once it comes out. You got it also runs, I know a lot of people run the Luffy Taro package, or they run the 7-cost Luffy block. What do you guys feel about the 7-cost film blocker in that deck right now?
I don't like it as much as the Luffy Taro. I think you want to spam board. If you're playing the 7-cost blocker Luffy, I think you've already lost. The deck is built around aggression and like aggressively pumping out units and going face. If you're swinging board constantly and trying to defend yourself, it's really not the way you're playing that deck.
You're gonna end up in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Well then, let's go back to that first question then. What decks do you think survive in this upcoming meta? From
Zack is hoping his deck survives.
Blackbeard, hopefully. But that's copium right now.
Yeah, Blackbeard's a little slow, and again, their on plays don't really stop when I want to do. Like not a lot of what my deck does or what GP does is.
Yeah,
well, I wonder what you're
Luffy
playing now.
Taro, right? But I mean, the only thing is, at some point, your deck doesn't really do anything if you're only stopping a tech, because Luffy Taro is considered a tech right now. It's really the mirror breaker, and it can help you be taller in some matchups. So that's the only really relevant on play you're stopping by leader ability every turn.
Or like one of the searchers. But again, if a Blackbeard's gonna pitch early to stop me from searching, I'd rather have that happen.
Please,
right?
yeah.
Well, I mean, like we're also thinking about like again, like I think also we were talking a little bit before we started filming about the idea that when you're playing, especially with these matchups that we're gonna eventually have, like where 19 people are gonna play Green Purple Luffy when he comes in, you have new variables like Zoro has now come back way harder, right? And you see a lot more aggressiveness from like Shanks. Did they have ST21 when Green Purple dropped initially?
They did, yeah.
They did.
But I think the big thing here is there's a lot of more pivoting decks in the format than there were compared to what their EB02 was coming into, right? Their EB02 was coming into a format that was just Dofi and Blackbeard. Like just looking at the stats of what was winning flagships and winning CSs at the time when they got EB02, it was just Blackbeard and Dofi. So now we're coming into a situation where there are a lot of decks that aren't getting gate capped in the same way by Dofi anymore, and now they can contend and beat Green Purple Luffy.
Well, but did you think that was even like even before the ban list? I felt like that's a good point that you make, that like a lot of the meta that we had pre-ban list wasn't the same as just, and I keep harping on it, like, but like it wasn't just Dofi Blackbeard. I mean, Dofi was still very dominant, right? But you had Shanks, you had Purple. I mean, Purple Luffy right now is having kind of a moment. Yeah. It's being one of the most consistent decks. Being able to fundamentally
say Giant's a good card.
Gum Giant is a very good card. And even Shanks is still doing incredibly well. Especially with that new 5-cost Luffy attach the Dawn and go for face. What do you think? Like again, do we think this meta is going to be like? Do we think that Green Purple Luffy is not going to be as dominant? Not only because of the meta, but because maybe Japan has maybe a more defensive playstyle. You would think that has to have contributed a little bit more to why Dofi and Blackbeard were so incredibly dominating in the East at the time.
With the aggressive meta, that's part of the reason I'm kind of hoping we do see Red Green Smoker kind of work out, because with Eustace Kid, hopefully that can keep off Zoro and the faster decks, and it has a good matchup into Green Purple Luffy.
Yeah, I think the problem with Green Purple Luffy, it's the same problem too you get eventually with Blue Purple Luffy, is like the deck goes wide and is also tall.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
That 8-cost Katakuri is going to be very damaging. I thought
Blue Purple, yeah.
I mean, we saw a statistic. If you go to gum.gg, it's like 61% are Purple Luffy, Green Purple Luffy, or
it might be the worst tier 0 form. Or if we're skipping ahead to OP11, that might be the worst tier 0 format we've ever seen.
Even compared to Red Purple Law?
Yeah.
I guess it's hard for us to put it in perspective because we didn't get
we didn't get the full force of Red Purple Law. Right?
I didn't get to play Red Purple Law because I just started around the time where people were like, hey, by the way, this is gone now. You can't deal with this anymore. How dominant for people we've had a bunch of people just jump into One Piece. How dominant, like what was it like in ancient times when, cavemen roamed and Red Purple Law was?
Red Purple Law, I don't know if Dean feels about this.
Well, I played the deck, and
Of course you fucking played that deck.
Dude, Bandai's had just a field day with me, dude. Every format I get my deck banned, but I will say this.
What does that say about you, though?
Yeah,
more than anything.
I'm a meta whore. That's what it says about me. But I will say this. RP Law before Black Maria was not nearly the best deck in the format. There was kind of a triangle going on where we had BY Luffy, Lucci, and RP Law. And they were all in their own ways extremely overpowered, but took their own corner of the triangle, right? So it's kind of hard for me to say that RP Law is what deserved a ban. Whereas for Blue Purple Luffy, I can definitely just say, like, with the utmost confidence, the leader deserves a ban.
Yeah, describe very quickly for people who don't know. We're already on LP11 at this point. Yeah. What's Blue Purple Luffy's effect? What makes him so damaging?
So Blue Purple Luffy is a 6k leader naturally, as opposed to Green Purple where you have to Dawn minus to get that plus 1k boost.
6k 3 life.
Yeah, 3 life, Blue Purple leader. And basically, once you get to 8 Dawn before you're ramping your Dawn for the turn, right? So this would be 8 Dawn going into 10 or 9 Dawn going into 10. You get to start your turn by searching the top 5 cards of your deck for a Straw Hat card, and then rearranging those remaining 4 cards either at the top or the bottom. So what I think they intended to just be like a search turns into a Surge 2 because you're actually getting to line up your next draw and then line it up again for cards like 9-cost Sanji that'll, you know, grab a 9-cost from the top of your deck and play it too.
It's the only deck that can consistently get out, like cheat out 2 big bodies like that.
Yeah.
Which is
Really
insane
easily.
to think about.
I mean, Marco, I think, kind of. Can't you do?
Not consistently, not in the same way that
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can with
probably
Blue
not.
Purple.
Yeah,
That one's locked to doing it on 10 Dawn because you need 1 Dawn for the leader effect. and
that's
then,
true. That's true.
Yeah. This one you get it for free. So it's literally free.
Yeah.
So it's
Problematic leader.
yeah, it's insane.
I think the 3 life. I think part of them probably thought the 3 life would be mitigative.
Not when you release 9-cost
No,
Little Wing.
and not when you got 9-cost
purple
Little Wing.
heal.
Well, but even that 8-cost Katakuri, for those who don't know, the 8-cost Katakuri also, that is a devastating card.
Blocker
That
that
is
restands.
An
yeah.
8K blocker that restands, and then doesn't it add a Dawn at the end of the turn?
Yeah. So it saves
That's
you
ridiculous.
in
And
terms
it's
of like
not
the
leader
events. Yeah.
And it's not leader lock. So pretty much. So I mean, even any purple deck, that's a necessary
Yeah.
staple card, because as soon as as soon as you play that, right? If you're like Luffy, if you're normal purple Luffy, if you're black purple,
Which is
Luffy,
seen
if
a
you're purple-
resurgence, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, well, which one? Black purple?
No, purple. Like
Purple is
Luffy
huge.
has seen a crazy
Yeah.
resurgence just because they're ditching like the whole Luffy Taro engine and just being fast, low to the ground, and saying, "Oh, we're just gonna do the same thing that Blue Purple Luffy does, but ramp is built into our leader."
Oh, I mean, that's the why else would you not? Why would you play anything other than that 8 cost? Because right afterwards you get that extra Dawn for Giant, for anything else that you would
Gross.
have, right? And then you have other. I know a lot of people were trying to tech, and it didn't work out as well. The Rosinante, which restands 2 Dawn, you know, but it's an absolutely I think you're right about the blue purple effect being very, very broken. But I think especially they made the package too strong.
Yeah.
It's very strict.
But I think unintentionally. I think it was the thing of it's the same thing where I talk about all the time of the damage over time, like the dot of
Yeah, they bird fed it.
They bird fed all this
Yeah.
little stuff, and it's this card's bad, but if it gets help, it does. And then it gets
Luffy wasn't crazy
and
like
it
the
gets
starter deck.
It gets
at first.
2 or 3 cards, and then all of a sudden, when you put everything together, you go, wait, hold
Yeah.
on, because the same thing with Lim, right? Lim got cards over the course of 6 sets that were you're like, okay, Odyssey's okay, and then all of a sudden you put it all together and you go, actually, Lim's kind of scary.
It's very scary. And then also you keep in mind, it's one of those. I gotta go back to the 8-cost Katakuri. I'm sorry, I'm harping on this, but that's 3 different. You're a blocker, you're 8K, and you restand a Dawn, and that's so many things, dude. That's too many things that you do at the same. I'm trying to think of a celebrity.
I don't know. I mean, it's also an 8K power, right? So you just look at the comparative. We can't add Gecko to that anymore because he's gone. But other comparative 8Ks, we have 8 costs. We have Eustace Kid and the yellow Katakuri, right? I think it's pretty fairly statted in a bubble. But when you add other things, that's why I kind of want to pinpoint what the issue is. And
the issue is in the card itself, right? It's the same thing with
it's its place in that.
yeah,
deck.
it's 8-cost this is the way I explained some of the 8-cost Gecko, right? 8-cost Gecko in any other color isn't actually that bad.
Yeah.
8-cost Gecko in black makes it fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
And
because you
Lucci that fills
And so
2 cards a turn.
that's what I'm saying. If you give green Gecko, it's really not that bad.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, blue technically has kind of a Gecko right now with Rebecca into.
You have to play it from hand.
Yeah, you have to play that from hand. The problem with Gecko was you're playing it from trash, so you always have your combo there, no matter what. So you always have it ready to go.
Another problem I feel with Blue Purple Luffy is not only are you searching out the card, but then you get to stack.
Yeah.
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 That's why I
The
think it's
fact
the leader.
You search out the Sanji, stack the Katakuri, then Sanji Katakuri.
Yeah. I mean, that's
It's
been
the leader effect that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's been the problem just with overpowered blue decks in general. Is it's the stacking of. It's the ability to top deck.
Yeah,
so
you don't even have to
consistently.
waste. I mean, traditionally, Sanji decks, 9-cost Sanji decks have had to use Perona or some other stacking to kind of set it up, and you just don't. It does it naturally for you.
Yeah.
Without any Dawn investment, at least Marco has to invest that Dawn, right? So they're locked to a 10 Dawn play for that turn. I've played through, I think, 4 leader bands now, if I'm doing my math right. Whitebeard, Sokka, RP Law, and I'm hoping this would be the fourth. I think out of all the times they've banned a leader, none of them were as deserved as this. This leader deserves a ban.
I know we didn't ban it outright, but the Whitebeard meta, the OP02 Whitebeard meta, was unplayable.
Tell us about that time.
You'd walk into a local and it'd be
where people are like way more racist. Tell me about the
tell me about the war. No, it was
flashbacks.
Like Dean could tell you, like, you could walk into a local and like if there's 12 people there, 10 of them are playing Whitebeard.
Yeah.
What was that? So it was Moby Dick and
it was Moby Dick. Yeah.
What did Moby Dick do?
That was when you're at 2 life or less. It includes your leader too, right? Your leader on your turn. It's not on your opponent's turn, but on your turn, your leader and all your Whitebeard leader and all Whitebeard pirates get plus 2k buff for the turn.
So all you're doing is spam.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So think about Whitebeard package, right? And then you're just spamming board with all these Whitebeard pirates. They're stopping you from taking life. If you go down to 2, then all of a sudden all this activates, and then you're just swinging.
Oh, and then you could. Oh my god, yeah, that's terrifying.
And again, you're on a timer, right? Because he's taking his own life the entire time. So you're on a timer. He's putting stuff on board. He's not even swinging at you. He's just putting stuff on board.
It was just really pervasive at a time when there wasn't really a lot of answers for things like that. Like Black was abysmal at the time, right?
In the state of the meta, right? Because this is before OP04. So before you got any of like the Dressrosa Black package where it's like Midas and KO and Rebecca and all that stuff. You don't have any of that. So it's literally your leaders at the time are what? You have Zoro, you have red, green.
It was
Luffy,
a triangle meta too, in the sense of what I was talking about before. Like
that was when red was like pretty much dominant everywhere.
There was no non-red deck. Like people would try to play Katakuri or like Green Kuro. Remember Green Kuro was like the counter to Whitebeard. It wasn't really. But yeah, it was just
this is what we're talking about. Like in terms of like what the decks were. Whitebeard was so unbelievably dominant. Where like if you didn't play Whitebeard, you couldn't play the game right.
And that didn't deserve a leader ban.
No.
They banned
Moby Dick did.
Yeah, they banned Boat and it went to like a kind of normal triangle.
RP Law deserved a leader ban?
RP Law did not deserve a leader ban.
Black Maria deserved the ban.
But they didn't want to ban a new card. I understand where they're coming from. As strong as Gum Gum Giant is, I don't think Gum Gum Giant is the reason Blue Purple.
And the thing is with Gum Gum Giant is
that's what's gonna happen.
Gum Gum Giant, the thing with Gum Gum Giant that people don't realize is it's leader locked. It's locked to the Luffys and the Straw. Like it's locked.
And I don't think it's that good in Green Purple because
it's leader locked?
It's leader locked to Straw Hats.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
It's not
if you're a Straw Hat crew,
leader. Yeah.
You don't get it. You don't get it if you don't get Gum Gum Giant. It's unusable in any other.
Oh yeah, I promise you, people wouldn't be playing purple Straw Hat leaders if it wasn't leader lock. They'd be putting it in like other stuff.
Green, purple, Doflamingo.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like to me that balances the card because it's not like this prevalent general purple card. It's locked.
Well, but that also brings up the ban then as well. Like when we're talking about like what got, because around the time we were talking about what was going to get banned, and I'm wearing kind of the same like little like FGC chat. One of our friends who said like, oh, they're gonna definitely ban Gecko. And we were like, there's no way they're gonna ban Gecko. There's no way because it's not like dominating like something like Delphi.
The problem is with something like Gecko, is it limits again coming from like
play design.
It limits design. Because you can't build around unique or new things with because there's so much to play. You can't account for.
But even with what you're talking, I mean, I get that like Whitebeard is at the start of them playing this incredibly popular game they did not expect to be this insanely popular, right? And then moving into okay, well we're banning RP Law because it is so dominant and everything that we don't want to ban a brand new card, right? Or do you think we're gonna get bans just kind of on this roving list where it's like? It's not what's banned now. It's what we were talking about months before. So like maybe
I don't think the Gecko ban was because of its play rate at the time. I think it's because they had ideas.
They're trying to future-proof.
They had ideas for other stuff, and they're like, "This would be cool," and they're like, "No, it's broken with this Gecko card."
And I will say this as somebody who like is playing Lucci right now, actually competitively. It's not by any means a tier 1
For those of you
deck.
who don't know, Dean played Black Yellow Luffy like all the time. and then we
only played BY Luffy.
Yeah, he only played BY Luffy.
And I messaged Dean the night of the ban, and he was just like, "It's over.
It's over, dude.
It's over." Dean was gonna become a nun in Calcutta after that.
Oh my god. It's so bad I'm playing Digimon now. But I will say this, not BY, but Gecko, getting hit was not as bad for black as a color and its color identity as it was made out to be. You know what I mean?
Everyone thought it was going to be.
And it's really easy to print a replacement for Gecko for BY. You can just print something that doesn't have that like large 9K power ceiling, and just recurs babies.
You make 2K Machino, and it just summons 2 children.
So I guess in the conversation of like, you know, future-proofing the game and like opening up design for 4s and 2s in black, basically every 4 and 2 that was going to get designed had to go through the Gecko filter first. Yeah. So I'm glad that they don't have to do that anymore the same way that they banned Nami cards in the past because, we have to put it through a Nami filter, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing with Jinbei, right? Where like, again, I understand that Jinbei wasn't the main problem for Dofi, but it limits what you can do with
everything,
It limits what you can do with 4-cost warlords. Because if as soon as you can cheat them out, you really limit the pool of what you can do with these 4-cost warlords, and that's the basis of what Dofi wants to do.
I mean, I kind of guess the thing I'm trying to get at is because, especially me and you, Chris, we come from fighting games, and we know very well like how certain strategies will get cut. Because of,
well, again, it's a thing that like,
I mean, not necessarily because it's broken, but because, or even it's broken in the meta, but at like a one certain small level, there's just a lot of complaints. And there isn't a lot of knowledge about how to tech against.
Well, again, it's the problem that you run into, like again, you know Keats, and like, so Keats is a friend of ours, and so he's a fighting game
he made Dive.
Yeah, he made Dive Kick, but then he also,
I was the voice in Dive Kick.
He also was the lead game design or game balance guy for Killer Instinct. And so he's talked about it of like, where it's not about solving symptoms, you're trying to find what like the cause of it is, right? And so like, again, you're listening to the community is typically a bad idea because they don't know they don't look deep enough of like why.
If we're looking at stats, I'm a big data guy. BY and Lucci were not at all pervasive in 10 and 11. So to me, that's why it hurt. If they were still like insanely good, okay, it's time, you know?
I think especially the bans came at a time where if we were on global release, the bans would be a very different. Right?
Very easy to diagnose.
The bans came at a time where honestly, like this set specifically is not as popular as other. I mean, it always goes one off, right? You know, like you have this set and it's like, all right, the next one's okay, and then the next one, right?
Like 11's really exciting.
11,
super
well, I mean, like
exciting.
I think even EB02 is pretty exciting, right? The EB02 and 11 are both incredibly exciting sets that fix a lot of things that like, but now it went from, oh, this is gonna be kind of cool additions to the game, to we need this set because so many decks just got shuffled out because Zoro got back. Shanks got way more. Shanks got a huge boost from this, and now Purple Luffy is just crushing everything. You know, let's talk. We've mentioned it twice about Purple Luffy. Let's talk a little bit more about that right now. About how dominant, like how consistent it is in this meta.
We're talking about green purple,
normal purple,
blue purple?
and OP10. Because to be honest, like I mean, what did it do? It did. I think it did win Pasadena.
Nami won
Pasadena.
Sorry, Adam with winning it back to back with
Paris.
Nami.
It's placed pretty high, and if you've looked at the stat of the stats of these regionals, a large amount of the decks placing are Purple Luffy. Right?
Yeah, I'd say the deck is tier 1, but I'd say it's the bottom of tier 1. I'm in no means in the boat that
it's really high rolly. It's really high rolly.
Super high rolly.
Also dice roll dependent.
Exactly, yeah.
Isn't that what high rolly mean?
No, high rolly is like you need to see X card in Y situation
I'm just
to
stupid.
win.
It's fine.
Yeah, like if you don't see
dice rolly is did you win the dice roll and go first?
Straight up. Because Luffy players will tell you playing Luffy on first and playing Luffy on second are two completely different decks.
Different games,
so in that vein, I'm never been one to say like, oh, Luffy's a problem. I think it's a good deck. I think it's a fun deck, but it's not a very interactive deck. Your only interaction piece is Sanji resting one of their blockers.
You don't really have much agency in your choices. You're playing best.
It's just survive and build. It's just you build and you survive. Yeah.
Isn't that the same way Shanks is at that point?
Depending on what build. That's the only thing I'll say.
That's fair.
I think Shanks does have a little bit more interactivity. I mean, Beckman.
Definitely more interactivity.
Yeah.
Beckman, that's 7-8 Dawn turn. The fact that Beckman and Rayleigh are there are.
It's knowing which one to drop.
But those being like pretty much the two most popular decks, throw Blackbeard in the mix, right? It's those three. Two of those three are just do exactly what you do with the cards you've been given. Like just play on curve. If you don't play on curve, you're probably going to lose. And that's why I've kind of just been like, yes, they're doing well. They're good decks, but they're by no means like something that needs to get hit out of the format.
Yeah. I think I will say though, I do think that Shanks is probably some of the best on curve packaging.
Yeah.
Period.
Because the thing
like,
is with Shanks, so I'm playing Shanks last like few weeks, and like the thing is with Shanks is I have an answer on every curve, and most of the time I have an answer. I have multiple answers for every curve, so it's just a matter of what direction I want to take it and where I want to steer this thing.
I mean, you have Dragon, you have Beckman, and you have Rayleigh.
Yeah, on that 8
one trashes,
turn.
one KOs and power reduces, and then one is just a swing. And they can solve the problem. It's like the fucking open world Bethesda design.
Yeah.
Of it's kind of funny because I wanted to kind of fuck around after playing with Shanks, and I tried to make a deck where I just switched out Shanks for Red Purple Luffy, right? But maybe just some of the red hair pirate stuff you switch out, right? Some of the 2Ks. That deck did well, just because of that. What is it? Yasop, Beckman. Yasop, Beckman, Dragon,
Red Hair Pirate's curve is really good. For being like a curve where you just play one body at a time, right? A lot of the more powerful curves are just like board spamming, but for being able to just play one body at a time, that possibly removes your opponent's body.
With great stat lines, too, yeah.
I started off this weird format that we're having with Bonny, and I was just like, yeah, my bodies that I'm playing like once per turn are just not as impactful as Shanks or even some of the other decks in this format. So I think Shanks is great.
Well, let's move on to the starter decks then, because we wanted to talk about a little bit about starter decks. Dean, I know you had mentioned something about your feeling about starter decks, about how they'll counter GP Luffy. We'll get into that in a little bit, but let's start with Bonny, right? Like, so first off, there's gonna be brand new starter decks coming in June, right? We got Black Purple Luffy, we got Green Bonny, we got Red Shanks, we got Blackbeard. Everybody can cut themselves except for you. We got Buggy.
Oh, Buggy's the blue.
And we got Yamato, right?
Which is the yellow one.
Yeah,
That's so mean, dude.
6 incredibly popular leaders right now. Honestly, some of them are off meta, some of them are directly on meta. You know, art looks great. We don't know what we're gonna get with these. So first off, judging by what we got with, well, let's go leader by leader. What do they need?
Out of all the starter decks, you must be the happiest because every deck you've played has gotten a starter deck at this point, right? Yamato, Dofi, Blackbeard, those have been like your 3 main decks so far, right?
And Katakuri.
Oh, and Katakuri. Oh, yeah, so there's another one.
And Katakuri.
So all these main decks have gotten starter decks and new support. You must be feeling great.
We went Yamato, Katakuri, and then Enel. And then Doflamingo.
Yeah.
I forgot about Enel. Oh, dude, Enel took such a hit. My goodness. But let's get back to the topic. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what are these? So let's start with Bonny, because we were talking about it, right? I want to go through leader by leader and see what they need in that package to really kind of round them out. So what do you think Bonny needs from the starter deck to kind of really be rounded out as a leader? I would say right off the bat, obviously green supernovas. We need better support for that. Something more consistent. What else?
I'll take this one because I've played it. The glaring problem, like I just said, is that your bodies are not as impactful standalone. And comparatively in the meta, they just get removed so quickly. Like a Cavendish or a Carrot on 5 or 6 just gets removed by your opponent's Beckman or Finger Pistol or like a variety of things that just remove it, right? In that vein, I think what Bonny really needs to like match the rest of tier 1, because I think it's like bottom tier 1 or high tier 2, is board spam. Yeah. Like it really needs board spam.
If it gets, the thing I was thinking about, if it gets like a law, like a supernova law that does something that spams out a Beppo that's like a rest blocker.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that. It completely changed the way the deck's played.
Okay, but we keep talking about board spam, but we're not even like we talk about board spam. We're talking about tall bodies, but like we're gonna talk about this later. But then what about Koala for future proofing it? Koala is the new OP12 leader that.
So I gotta bring this up too. So we were talking about like on-offs, right? Of like sets being like exciting and then kind of whatever and then exciting, right? We were in with Discord we were talking about like, someone was like, did we get all the leaders for OP12 yet? And I was like, no, there's one left. I was like, there's one left and the other ones are kind of mid. So I'm assuming this last one's crazy.
Yeah.
And then that night, like an hour later, the koala went down. I was like, there it is.
Were we talking about that
like,
night too? Yeah, I was like, it was me and Danny too. I was like, dude, this last one's gonna be.
I was like, this last one's gonna be because like usually when they release leaders and the first 4 are like whatever, the last one's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And so I was like, uh-oh. Because the thing with OP11 was we got the first couple and you're like,
And they were
oh,
bangers,
they're
right?
cooking. And you're like, oh, this whole set's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But when they
11
release
was
like
great.
4 mid leaders and then you
Yeah.
go, uh-oh, this last one's gonna be crazy.
Something's up.
Yeah.
Something's happening. Yeah.
They're like, this last one's crazy.
The leaders look cool for the set, but every single one, I was like, oh, they really need to cook with the support because standalone.
The
is
Zoro,
not
green
doing it.
Zoro support looks kind of crazy. It's
Yeah.
kinda-
Green
it's
Zone.
getting kinda rough.
I honestly do think that the Rayleigh will probably have some really cool.
That one needs to convince me.
Oh,
Yeah,
that Rayleigh leader's so bad.
It
That's like red, purple sugar levels of bad.
It needs no. It's the fucking blue purple. It's red blue Caesar clown. Like,
Yeah.
it's bad.
No, I play Caesar Clown over that, dude. It is
It's
so bad.
Like it needs so much support. And I don't know. The bad part is every time now I see a Rayleigh support card, like there's that new event that like gives a Rayleigh plus
free
3
Dawn
cannon
or something? Yeah.
It gives them like plus 3 con. It only says Silver's Rayleigh, and I was like, I can play that in Shanks. Like my brain didn't even go to this is a Rayleigh card.
This is for
my brain
Rayleigh,
went to, oh, I can play that in Shanks.
God, yeah, that leader is so bad. But I will say this, it does seem like because of rotation, this is the start of a new block, right? OP12, that they're just kind of trying to provide alternatives to like classic leaders from the beginning of One Piece. So like OP1, starter decks. It seemed like Rayleigh is just a replacement for Zoro, like
Yeah,
Red Zoro.
a little bit.
And then the green Zoro leader just seems like a replacement for Green Kid, the one that would like restand for 3 Dawn. And I guess I see where they're coming from, but that has a notion for the starter decks, right? They need to reprint a searcher, or not, either reprint the 1-cost Bonny searcher in these starter decks with the new block icon, or they need to print a new Supernova searcher, or else that whole archetype's dead on arrival.
Yeah, which I think they're doing. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
I do think Bandai is listening quite a bit, which it seems like they really do take. I mean, the ban list is a good example. I do think they do listen to what people are saying, right? But they also are cool with letting everything just blow the fuck up and then be like, oh, how bad is it, guys?
Yeah.
Is it like, it's like throwing a bunch of knives in a room with Joker supporters and just being like, all right, y'all bleeding? All right,
That was right before you started too, Zach. You started in the 5 or 6?
Right at the start of 6.
6. Right before that Whitebeard ban that we were talking about was a like classic example of that, where they blew up the format, actually blew it up, and then a week later they were like, oh, you guys actually only get this format for a month, and then we'll bring back all the cards we banned, because the outcry was so loud.
Yeah.
So I think Bandai, you know, like sometimes they can make some decisions that just seem like they really just want to implode the format and bring some new stuff in.
I think they
listen.
I think the thing too is they like to shake it up and see what happens, and then they adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
It's not Konami.
Yeah.
So then, question for all of you: how long do you think we will make it into the OP11 format before they ban Blue Purple?
We're going through this year at least.
We're going through, yeah.
I think we might get an emergency ban.
The only thing that prevents game balance and emergency bans is commerce. And commerce, they need to sell some blue purple alt arts before I mean, like we just talked about it. They banned Law because I mean it makes perfect sense. They banned Law because that starter deck, they're not printing a ton of them.
Well, timing is an important thing here. I was getting ready to play RP Law for Nationals when they banned it, right? And then that's when I kind of scrambled.
That's Dallas Nats. They banned it a week before Dallas Nats.
Yeah, and they banned it a week before, but they gave us some time. I think
they gave us a month.
Yeah, they gave us a month to prepare. So I was kind of just scrambling, and that's why I landed on BY Luffy. But timing is an important thing, because if they don't emergency ban Blue Purple Luffy in the same vein, then that means we're going to be going into like a really large regional treasure cup, and then the first US Nationals season, all with Blue Purple being the clear tier 0 deck. And being that One Piece, like, yes, there's a collector demand, right, for people just like ripping and shipping packs and things. The alt arts are beautiful. I think One Piece is mainly, can we all just agree One Piece is mainly a player's game?
Yeah.
Like the thing that's driving demand at its highest, I think, is players.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really bad look to see a tier 0 format that's worse than RP Law in Japan and the East and say, oh, you guys can have that during your regional season too. I don't think Bandai would do that.
I mean, I think people want money, and so I feel like if somebody said like, listen, do you want to do this for the spirit of the game, or do you want to deflate these footballs and win a championship, Tom Brady? Tom Brady is gonna make the right decision.
Blue Purple Luffy deflate gate, dude.
Now
That's
again,
crazy.
the thing that's interesting is, I know we're talking about like tier 0, blue purple.
We were talking about starter decks. We've completely moved. We have to go back.
I know.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Do we think that unseats it from tier 0?
That's what I'm saying is like, we're talking about tier 0, whatever. Like these starter decks have a chance to bring back a ton of stuff. And like my assumption, like again, when we're talking about what things need, I think Bandai's looking at that East meta and going,
what can we print to balance it?
And the thing is, I think that's a good test for them. I think that's why we're getting it first, as a good test of, let's see what the West does with this.
I would feel like shit if I was a fucking East player right now, and I had to be like, oh, survive. They get the fix for Blue Purple Luffy. We don't get it for another 3 months.
Well, now you know how it fucking feels. Honestly, like I know how it feels.
The thing is with Blue Purple, we know it loses to aggro. If you spam at it, it loses. Like that's why Zoro and Betty are still really strong in the East. So again, if you get like Green Yellow Yamato is the perfect kind of counter.
Yeah.
If it gets good,
well, let's move on to.
If it gets good rush support, if it gets a lot of it, like, so I played Green Yellow at Nationals. I played for a year.
Yeah.
So like I have a pretty good history with that deck. The issue that it runs into is that you're either playing for. There's nothing in that deck. The power comes from the leader, from the double attack, but there's nothing in that deck or in the Wano package that powers up Yamato while playing board.
Yeah.
So you're either sacrificing you being safe or amount of swings, or for powering up your Yamato, like going to swing big.
Yeah.
It needs something that's like, hey, play, like it needs a Yasup where it's like, play this and you get 2K or you get 1K or whatever.
That's scary.
It needs something.
Or hear me out. Instead of Yasop, imagine a Nico Olivia or Green Yellow.
That's what I'm saying. Something like that too, right?
Don't we have one? Isn't it just not? Why am I saying Tonkatsu?
You have a
Tonkatsu is the crispy pork,
yeah.
dude.
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
The guy,
the father.
blue hair.
Is it also a 2K?
No, it's not a 2K, but it's the same like you buff leader plus 3.
but
Yeah, also you say that shit. You say that shit with this like big old smile. Like, yeah, why don't we just give? That's like saying, let's give Ryu. That's like saying like if we're playing Street Fighter, it's like, what do you want to change about Ryu? Yeah, give him a gun. All right, that's great. Yeah, give him a fucking gun.
I've talked to Dean about it before. Nico Olivia, if Nico Olivia was General Yellow, it'd be one of the best cards in the game.
Oh, dude.
God,
it's a ridiculous.
Oh my God, it'd be. You know how people used to react to beige when that came out? They're like, oh, I can't believe they printed this. That Nico Olivia is so overstated. Let's be thankful. Let's be so thankful this isn't a better leader.
Well,
dude.
okay,
Oh
so
my
the thing
God.
that's funny is like I've won games off of, because the thing what people are doing now with like Robin is they're taking, again, I've played more Robin probably than 90% of the people in the world. People are taking out the 6-cost Nico Robin, or they're like limiting it to like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And my thing is, no, you need 4 of it.
Just to see it on curve.
Well, you want to see it on curve, but even just as a trigger to play out a 3-cost, because then you play out Saul, you play out the 2-cost Shirahoshi, or you play out Nico Olivia. So the thing is that most people don't think about is, boom, Robin trigger, right? If I have Saul in hand, if I have Saul and Nico Olivia in hand, depending on what they have, I might play the Nico Olivia instead. And everyone goes, why? You play the blocker.
No, because you're 3K for the turn.
I'm an 8K leader for the rest of this turn.
I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. Like, I get to be a 9K leader or an 8K leader for the rest of this turn.
That's insane, yeah.
Or you can do that
Good
play
luck.
you did against me where you saved 3 Dawn, and I thought, oh, he's got 3 Dawn for a swing. It'll be fine. He drops 3 Nico Olivias,
dude.
And swing, I don't even know them, at 14K at me.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and I go, are you serious?
Yeah. Because again, no one expects that card. No one understands how strong that card is because it's leader locked and no one plays.
Let's go back just very quickly because we didn't finish. So Koala versus Bonny and that life life drain section of it, right?
Yeah.
Is that a serious issue, or are we not?
We don't know yet because we don't know the support that Koala's gonna get.
I think Koala is as big of a splash as it made. It's really dependent on support, and the support I've seen is not that good. In fact, the best card that they've released so far for Koala is better for BY Luffy and all the ST13 leaders than it is for Koala, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a situation where the format's actually pretty fast right now. And even though like Blue Purple Luffy is a deck that needs to go tall, it goes tall really quickly. So it's also a pretty fast deck, right? In that it's in the matter of 2 turns.
And it's once per turn, you can drop 2 big bodies.
Exactly. In a matter of 2 turns, you're going to have a board of 4 9-cost bodies, right? So the meta's pretty fast. Can a 4-life leader that makes you take your own life when you do something overpowered really mitigate that? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
And again, the thing is that, again, and we're talking starter decks, right? Like all of these decks, what they need is just stuff to either spam board or go faster.
Well, let's go specifics then. Okay, so for Yamato, you're saying they need something like Nico Olivia.
It needs something that plays board and powers up your leader to empower the swing.
What about
or another, like, you know, I mean, it's getting
Wano Hody,
we know it's getting that.
Let's round out the underpowers. What about Black Purple Luffy? I mean, the obvious is a gecko or something to kind of do that, but
I think it kind of got shoehorned, and you know better than me, so stop me if I'm incorrect, because you've played this deck much more. But I think it just got shoehorned into the whole Gecko deck because Gecko was so good. But I think some really powerful. It's kind of like it doesn't have a lot of really powerful Dawn -2 effects right now. Yeah, you have Sanji, you have 9-cost Luffy. It's whatever. Right?
The package they had for what got. I mean, Sanji was a very powerful effect. 9-cost Luffy was a very powerful effect. But I mean, the things that ended up.
The thing it could be really good with, honestly, is like if it got more of like the ST14 package, where it's like the black.
We need
the
a
black
stage.
straw hats.
That would be huge.
Well, the thing,
right?
the thing is, a lot of those should have worked because they have a similar effect, the +1.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, the Sanji works beautifully in that deck.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the other cards like Robin, right, or even not
too slow.
Yeah, but again, like if you give it a little more support in just like that black straw hat archetype, I think that helps the deck a ton.
I mean, if there was like the whole thing with the ST, I mean, it didn't work out very well, right? But the whole thing with ST14 was that stage gave all black straw hats +1, and you get +1. So let's say you drop Robin on curve. I mean, that's -5, right? And if you have like a Brook out, if you were playing with Brook, then it's -5. You can KO a 7-cost. Yes, it's fine. It's fine. But the problem is that like now you don't have like Robin needs an 8-cost on field for -5. Like why even bother with that?
Yeah.
And then so much of this has to be this much cost to do this. That doesn't really work. When I was playing the deck, it was always Dawn efficiency that you were getting. You were getting like a 6/7 Sanji. You were getting a Dawn -3 Kaido 9 Rush, right? You were getting a 6 Dawn back from a Time Walk Luffy, which is great. But I mean, you look at other decks right now, like
just not as powerful.
Yeah, red green Smoker. We're talking Dawn efficiency. Green Purple Luffy, like the Dawn efficiency of those is insane. How are you going to compete?
I think honestly, if you could turn, again, going back to the ST14 thing, if you made Blue Purple Luffy to separate it from Purple Luffy, and you gave it more of this like removal, like -Dawn to remove archetype, right? And you built it into that, it can fill this like kind of Lucci void. And then if you could pop multiple, like if you gave it something that popped multiple bodies, right? If you gave it like a 4-cost Lucci type
limited
card,
to straw hats,
and limit to straw hats, right? But if you gave it like a straw hat 4-cost Lucci pop multiple bodies, that changes the dynamic of how the deck runs.
Absolutely.
And it changes like the direction of where the deck goes to where now it can compete with green purple because now you're popping multiple Sanji puddings, right?
Yeah.
Or you're popping multiple things at once.
I will say this though, if we're taking Dawn Minus into the equation at all, that means it has to be a purple card, right? They're not going to put Dawn Minus on a black card. And I think they are really reluctant with the outcry and also just the support they've given purple straw hats so far.
Yeah.
They're really reluctant to probably print more purple straw hat support. So I think they are going to go along the route what you said at first. They're going to go along the black side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it with the cost reduction. But then if you do something where okay, now it reduces but it pops, or like even if it's like a purple straw hat that pops.
Dude,
but like
all the other purple Luffy decks will play that first.
All of the other cards.
The worry.
But the thing is, like, if the black is the reduction and then the purple is the pop, right?
You're saying make the purple pop really small?
Yeah. So that there's no incentive for the other ones to play it. So you have to play with the black package, right?
Purple has some things that pop for cost already, right? You have to.
But they're really small.
They're really small.
Kiri pops it too.
Yeah.
They can do that. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
The tech card I was using for a while was Orobi. Right, because you ramp to 8 very quickly, and that's a pop 3, right? So it's very, which wasn't
pretty
bad.
good into Zoro, which is one of Pluffy's worst.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? So like again, it gives Pluffy support. It gives something. If you give it a
Pluffy doesn't need more support. Leave it alone.
If you give purple pop and then the black reduction, it separates it enough where it doesn't ruin.
Do you think
the
they
other
would
archetypes.
give you both purple and black, or do you think they would stick to one?
But I think they wouldn't have made.
Starter deck, you have to do both.
Yeah,
So
like why would they make
both.
double colored leaders if they're?
Well, wasn't the starter deck Luffy Sabo, wasn't that deck almost entirely one color?
Yeah, but no,
that
all
was all
of them
yellow.
were yellow
Because they need to share one, right? In order for you.
That makes sense.
But I think if we're looking, we know that one Yamato spoiler, right? Is green, the super rare. That's like
it's a Hody.
It's a Wano Hody basically, without taking your own life. It's a pretty good card, but it's green. And Yamato is the slotted yellow deck for these starter decks. It's not the green one, right? Because there's Bonny. Bonny is like the solo green slotted deck. So that makes me think if there's dual color leaders with Yamato and purple black Luffy, they're going to release cards in both colors, not just stick to one.
And the thing is, like most decks or most starter decks that we've gotten that had dual color, like the green purple Sanji Zoro deck,
or blue
came
purple,
with both. Came with both.
Well, so then I think that's good for black purple. I kind of want to move on real quickly, just so we're not.
One last on the black purple. If you gave it the pop though, that means it now has pop. It has life gain with 9 cost Big Mom and the ramp.
Wait, black purple has
9 cost Big Mom in purple.
You can play, yeah.
You can play.
Yeah.
And you gain the life. You remove a 6 cost or less, essentially.
Sure. I mean, again,
the problem is the Don -1's always like is not a solid.
Yeah, but if you're playing a 9, Don -1 doesn't actually mean anything, right? That's the only thing is it actually does mean something in blue purple because you can't giant on that turn, which is another reason why I don't think giant is the hit with blue purple being so. But I guess okay, we talked about Yamato, we talked about Bonny, we talked about purple black, Buggy. Oh, I don't want to harp on it because we've said board spam so many times, dude.
It's board spam. He needs better cross skills.
He has board. Here's the thing. He has board.
He has better targets for the board spam.
That's the thing. He needs better cross skills.
Yeah.
The problem is that the cross skills he has aren't good. That's the problem.
The only good one is what 6 cost Mihawk,
and the promo against some matchups.
Yeah.
I mean, Crocodile is good. I mean, honestly, you need things to jump off of Crocodile. I feel like that's more.
Yeah, so it has board spam in the Crocodile and the promo. I think out of all the decks, the Buggy one has the most to grow.
Yeah.
Like you could just print some really absurd shit and make Buggy a tier 2 deck, and that's fine. You know, I think if you can bump it up to relevant, that's better than nothing.
I mean, I feel like you need something for that deck. Just discards so much and is so dependent on, like
maybe card draw.
It has
would be helpful.
It has like here's the thing. If you look at the pieces of it are really strong. Like they are pretty good.
Standalone, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
but in context, they're not good.
Especially because you're pitching so many cards, especially in this meta, where
you're pitching so many cards.
Everything is so rush dependent, and then also not on top of that, you know, like think about Usopp. I mean, even Black Purple, who's gone out of the meta, like +1 on anything is gonna screw you, right? So like if you're playing anybody with like, I mean, I played an Usopp with I owned Buggy. Once I got the promos, I went and I played somebody and they were playing Usopp Dressrosa, and like literally in the turn I was just like, wait a minute, everything on your board right now is +1.
Yeah. So
this is useless, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
because you're not going to attack with your 3s and Usopp anyways. Yeah.
So I mean, Dofi's not. I mean, Dofi it hurts Dofi, but I mean now Dofi's are running Josu's, and so
I don't think it hurts Dofi as much because
he's won through it.
I've won through many. I only lost one Buggy matchup, and I've played it at least 5 times.
Do you just red rock it as soon as they play it, or what?
Now you play the new, not the new, but the 7-cost Doflamingo that bounces. You just bounce it
to
back,
their hand.
swing.
They have to invest a whole nother turn just to replay it, and if they don't have I get what you're saying. And now that I think about it, it's like the 7-cost Buggy is an enabler. More than like freezing your opponent's shit, like the smaller shit, so it can't attack. It's an enabler to get to your 5 threshold for the big 10 cost, right?
Does it need a lock?
What do you mean?
Like if you gave it like Electric Luna or like 10 cost Doflamingo, like something to lock?
I think that would do a lot. Yeah. I think that would do a lot because the biggest issue, I mean, again, the issue is the amount of cards you pitch.
Yeah.
Like
again, just buying you time, I feel like is a very
you can pitch cards for a leader effect. I don't think that's a big deal.
But I mean, for all of its strength, like if you want, I mean, look, like when you get to turn 5 and you drop a Crocodile and then something else, great. That's really solid. Like, or even if you drop a promo Buggy into Mihawk, right? Maybe 1 extra board spam would do well, you know, because then you're consistently getting board spam no matter what. But again, like there's only so many times you could do that, and because removal is still so prevalent in this meta, you know, control isn't dead yet. And I mean, I would think Lucci is a terrible matchup for Buggy.
Promo Buggy also can't attack, can it?
No. That's
give us a promo Buggy.
Spot on board, essentially.
No, they want a dead spot on the board because they want to hit the 5 threshold for the 10 cost, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. Is like I think it has enough board spam now that I think about it. I think the leader effect is fine because you don't always use it. You just use it on curve, right? But when you see like the other decks that board spam in this meta, you're playing a Crocodile into a Mihawk, draw 2, discard 1. Whoa! Where they're going like Luffy Taro like a turn or 2 early into Sangor, which is going to draw them a card every single turn for the game.
Or Luffy or Zoro Juro that's gonna search it for him, like something crazy.
Like the other board spam is so much more impactful.
Or like a again, it's the flexibility of it, right? You're talking about of like Luffy Taro, and then I have fucking 60 choices of what I want to play out of this. Where Buggy really only has like 2 or 3.
Yeah, you don't have a ton.
And none of them are great.
They're not great. They're good. They're not great.
They can do something like what they did with Dofi and just give it really overpowered shit. And the thing is, it's limited because there's so little cross guild. You know, with the issue with Dofi was there was such a large breadth. To work with that. Jinbei was just waiting. It was like a ticking time bomb. As soon as they released good warlords, it was going to go crazy.
It's just too slow of a deck right now. It's just way too slow, and it needs. I mean,
I've lost to it with Shanks.
I mean,
it's not an like again.
It's a skill. It's
not a shitty deck.
It's not. And the thing is with it's in a weird like. It's the only deck that's kind of in like a weird middle ground where it doesn't go fast. It doesn't go super tall. It goes. It has this really nice mid game that you have to get to, and if you can get to it healthy, then you're okay.
Yeah.
But the problem is getting to it healthy and like with a good hand size. But the problem again, like,
if they're swinging in face and you're just burying your hand, bro, it's like, very hard.
In the matchups I was playing, where if I don't see enough early game in Shanks and I have to play mid game, then like it can keep up and it can match me, and that's a little tricky.
The 7K bodies get to be
tricky, right? But again, the problem is the 7K bodies are good. They're not. There's nothing game breaking there that's going to make it.
Especially when you have to, lose a card in hand just to
do it.
Yeah.
And then, speaking of game breaking, all right, let's go to the 2 decks right now that are probably the top tier of this.
I'm so excited.
So what support can we give for Blackbeard? He's really struggling out here.
Make it fast.
Faster. Make it a little bit faster.
Bro. No support.
Yeah.
What if it's just existing cards?
No. Could you imagine? It's just. It's all the whole deck is you just buy it and you get a Blackbeard deck.
Yeah, you can literally do that. The deck is so cheap, dude. They might just do that. Just give it. It's like a pseudo like.
You just get like 9 OP09. You just get 9 OP09 booster packs in the altar. That's it.
I mean, personally, Zach, what are you missing like when you're playing?
What do you feel like?
Matchups? What do you feel like the deck is missing?
It's like asking like a rich kid, like, hey, listen, what do you want for your birthday?
No, and again, be honest of. You're supposed to lose to Zoro, and you're supposed to lose to all the other. Like what? Like realistically,
are you?
Realistically, what do you? What
Doc
do you look
Q,
for?
but 2 cost. Pop a 2 cost naturally,
Doc
dude.
cute, but it pops 2 bodies.
Oh, it's perfect, dude. Classic Zoro stonks all the way down.
What about an activate main that lets you play on plays?
No.
No, fuck that. No,
I know
fuck that.
it's terrible.
Absolutely
It's
not.
terrible, but it's one of those things where it's like Bandai being like, you're gonna think it's okay.
I want to hear what he actually.
I genuinely don't
actually
think
want.
Blackbeard needs anything. The
Yeah,
only
me
reason I
neither.
feel I lose games, except to Red Sanji and Red Zoro,
Yeah, rush decks.
rush decks, is I've misplayed. And I can look back in the match and tell where I misplayed, and I can look exactly at what would have changed. So usually I countered out too early, and if I'd had those 2 cards to counter at the end, I would have survived and I would have won the crack back.
Yeah.
And that's why I lose. So I don't think it needs anything, but if it wants to give me some draw, a draw engine would be great.
Oh,
you
another
know?
fucking
Blackbeard
cruise
with a little bit of draw.
I think it'd be cool if they gave, because they've tried to do certain things with Blackbeard where they have like that Burgess that rushes and stuff like that. It would be cool if they gave a
Don't give a
package
shit
where you could
rush.
build the deck in a different way, because the deck is so homogenous
It's
right
so
now.
linear, yeah.
It's so like, I mean, like
as
Shanks,
skill expressive as it is, it's so
Shanks
linear.
is very skill expressive because you can do rush, you can do control, you can do straw hats, you can do red
As a
like,
deck builder, yeah. Oh, I guess that's a good dichotomy to put there. Is like I think Blackbeard is a very linear as deck construction, but
You play it out very, very
I think like
flexible.
you know, if you're a player, like new Blackbeard players kind of get like pigeonholed into, I need to survive to 10 Dawn and then go 10 cost, 10 cost, 10 cost, and that's often not the case, right? So that's like kind of my
That's like the new 10, like the new Blackbeard player syndrome of I need to get a 10. And then
I
play
need to
10.
survive.
Yeah, and then they always take the 10 cost like search.
Yeah, and then
they
their
always
hand
take the
just
10
gets
cost, and you're
bogged
like,
up, yeah.
and then as soon as I see it, I know, okay, you're cooked.
you're bricked.
Well,
Yeah.
like Shanks is the same thing where most people think like Shanks, oh, you just play the 10 cost. It's like, no, dude, you can take all kind of other shit first.
Yeah.
10 cost
Hit
is strong.
10 cost early in the game in a fair amount of matchups,
to
especially like
ensure you have
Zoro,
it.
because I've got 3 more. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make it through my entire deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the bait for to weed out the weak amongst the strong. But I mean, like, do you think that? I mean, even for Shanks, then, do you think that there is? It's hard to.
Shanks has a lot of room to grow. I think Blackbeard, like, it's tough because the core deck is like 45, 46 cards.
Yeah.
So
it's like BY where the core of it is so, it's like 30, 40 cards.
like, I have to run these 40 cards without a doubt. What are you going to give me in a starter deck?
Oh, would you maybe replace that? That's what I'm saying. Is I think actually I do think that maybe Blackbeard does have room to grow in that sense, right? Because again, if we're talking about a linear playstyle, the biggest fun about this game, and I think what helps this game sell, if we're talking about Bandai wanting to be commerce heavy, right, is different sets of core, right? Like the fact that you can go Zoro or Zoro, even if Zoro is inconsistent, right, is a thing. The Zoo package works in multiple.
It sells
decks.
like to people who only play Zoro, whereas like
Some people have tried to do Marco Zoo and shit. Not that it's useful, right? But I'm saying, like, if we're talking about what Bandai's gonna print, like printing something like printing an alternative to playing Luffy. I don't know what you can do. Alternative to playing Luffy, or an alternative to playing Stronger, or alternative 2K.
A
right?
better 2K is honestly, if we got
a better 2K for sure.
Because I'm playing
Shryu's ass, dude, yeah.
literally because it's a 2K.
Even Stronger, like, I mean, Stronger is a good card and it's a good 2K, but I think some like more activate main reduction would be. Oh, it doesn't have any of that, really, does it? It's just Stronger.
I mean, what if we could get like a Blackbeard, a searchable Blackbeard
And Stronger, you pitch a card too.
Yeah, if we had
Like,
a searchable Blackbeard
like a searchable
Laboon,
Blackbeard, like a Blackbeard Pirate Laboon would be like
okay, so yeah, there's stuff they could do.
If a 4 cost
Or -4.
cost reduction would be incredible, because that's the reason I'm
Would
playing
you be
Laboon
okay
right
with Van Augur, literally that, minus, let's say it's a 6, because Van Augur's a 5/6, -3, right? What about a 6 cost 7K -4, but you don't draw a card? Would you play something like that?
That I think actually would be really balanced.
Because there's a drawback,
now.
right?
Yeah, that would be.
This is fucked up.
You'll say some OP shit. Some shit
But-
gonna get it
This is
banned.
what,
I don't
I'm
think so.
regretting even throwing this into the universe. What if you gave it
Gecko Warrior.
Blackbeard Pirate Jack?
Fuck no.
That would be
Absolutely
incredible.
not.
What if you gave it Blackbeard Pirate?
No way,
I want to
bro.
clarify, when you say incredible, not for the game, for
No,
you.
for me entirely.
Yeah.
I loved having Jack.
How are
in,
you
like,
wearing a Dressrosa Luffy shirt and talking about the most despicable person on the planet?
Oh, God.
I wore this
Pirate Jack would be
Dressrosa
the
Luffy
end of
shirt
that.
No.
to Dallas when
At
I
that
played
point-
Doflamingo.
Oh,
Don't even
God,
play
that's terrible.
10 Teach anymore.
Yeah.
Did you even play 10 Teach anymore? You could
No.
just pivot to like full control. Where,
Yeah, you
where,
used to play control.
Yeah.
See, but that
Full
would
control
be
would be
that would
really
be way
interesting.
more interesting. I feel like because I feel like if you have, I feel if we're talking about what the starter deck's disrupting the meta, there's got to be stuff that's going to disrupt 10 Teach, right? Like more like I don't think that we have enough to really like Zoro, yeah, but a lot of
not
decks.
enough. Yeah, the
Yeah,
nine cost
a lot of like 10 Teach is such a when you drop on the field, it's super disadvantageous for everybody, right? There's got to be stuff that they print against that, and if they gave Blackbeard a different play style, that would be so much more interesting.
Yeah.
like
Or like, again, this is also fucking
This man is like, this is the real Bondi worker right here,
Like
bro.
the other degenerate
Gecko
thing
Moria.
is like if you took it in a completely different direction and you gave it something like Dawn minus reduction to an opponent.
Oh,
Or like Magellan, like Black Magellans, right?
No
like Black
way, we're giving
Magellans.
Magellan too. Oh, please. I'm so glad that they haven't printed more Magellan effects because
Like, think of it,
it's
like,
really impressive.
It's because that's such an interesting mechanic where I'm surprised we haven't gotten a leader that does that. Where like that's the playstyle where it's I'm
Like
just gonna
Koala.
minus your Dawn every time.
Please don't.
be
Let's not
so
give them
impressive.
ideas, dude.
Because you'd stop your opponent from
Playing the
playing
game,
anything,
yeah.
literally like at that.
Look, see, the reason I was so happy.
I mean,
when
what else does Blackbeard do? What the fuck?
It just
But at
seems
least
your
you're
all
still
your
10
cards are
Dawn.
vanillas, or you have non-on plays. Like
Yeah,
he
but
has
they're
10
vanilla.
cost Shanks.
Okay, but let's be very
Just-
real. Like before, it was just on vanillas. Now that's vanillas, and we're also going to remove them from play while playing
Oh, bro.
a character that gets beefed from trash as well.
This is big Blackbeard lobby
I know.
right here.
He's like in,
Blackbeard.
Fuck
Don't
this
say
character.
no, it's you too. It's both of you.
I always laugh because like so one of our friends someone I work with, Zach, he plays black decks, right? So I put together so for work there's like at the end of our work meetings we do like for team bonding, you do like, hey, here's a hobby of mine, and here's like a presentation on my hobby, right? So I did one on like Gecko Moria, and like why it's broken and why it
Oh, yeah,
sucks,
I
right?
remember this.
And so I made this whole presentation. And so yesterday, I was going through YouTube and someone put out like a documentary on like ACOS
Yeah,
Gecko
I
Moria.
saw that too.
So then I put it in my like Slack chat and I was like, hey guys, look, someone else is talking about this too. And so Zach answered and he goes, don't act like this card was that big a problem. And I
Oh,
was like, don't start.
don't.
I was
They
like,
don't know the
don't
half
start.
of it.
If they had banned that card in the 08 meta, I would have been so happy.
I would have been so depressed. I wouldn't have half of my regional tops.
You have to have strong strategies, right? I think that the problem is when you don't get to play the game, that's the problem.
So why are we trying to add Black Magellan, guys? Can we not give them bad ideas? Koala's fine. You can still play the game. You just have to take a life, dude.
Black Magellan would be so-
yeah.
would be
I
so
just don't
gassed,
get my
though.
Dawn. My opponent's on 10 Dawn. I'm still at 5, dude.
4K leader, but a
Let's say,
minus.
like, how would you? So okay, what if it is Black Magellan on activate main, but every time you activate, you ditch 2 cards? Is that worth it to you?
You know,
No.
if you
That
discard,
was
Ditch
making
2
unplayable.
cards? No, that's just unplayable.
It's just unplayable.
I'd say the 6 cost minus, that's almost unplayable. That's really slow. The only reason I liked Jack before was you could drop Jack, and if you had the cost reduce in the field, you could take out big
I think
stuff.
Jack's
You-
fine as long as we. I know I overreacted.
Yeah, Blackbeard Jack. If you get the pitch,
yeah.
I mean,
and they have to rest, and then you just dump on it. Like I think Jack's as a overpowered as it enables some strategies in Lucci and stuff. Jack's a fine card, and I'd be fine giving it to Blackbeard.
all right, we're actually kind of running out of time right now. I'm kind of pulling up against it, but just a couple final thoughts on starter decks and where the meta is and where you see all of us going into EPO2 for the next couple months.
depends on the starter decks go.
Yeah. But I think it's a great outlook. I really think they need to give us something to combat Blue Purple Luffy, assuming they're going to leave it in the meta. But if they're able to do that, I'm pretty excited for. I like there being a clear top dog and there being some variation in what decks can combat it. It makes for a better competitive format when everybody knows, like we're all going to Vegas regionals, right? Yeah. And we know what to expect when we walk into the room. Whereas with Pasadena, nobody had any idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So quick thing that I really want to bring up because it's something that like it just hit me now. So because I still think blue yellow Nami is like a secret, like it's gate kept by blue purple, but like as soon as you take that out, I think that deck's really strong.
Really good.
That
yeah.
deck is very strong. I mean, when it dropped, people were terrified of it.
I think that deck's like I want to play it really bad. Like I think it's gonna be great. The thing is, right now the best, in my opinion, the best way to build it is with Wano package.
I've seen it.
And so the thing is, what do we get with yellow Yamato? Like
Yeah, because they have to give us something.
If we get something good and it goes in that blue yellow Nami,
That helps combat blue purple.
It could change everything too.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Something that can rest blockers regardless of cost in yellow Wano.
That would be oppressive.
It would
Not
be
oppressive,
But like the Wano package, Yamato takes advantage of it, but like there's not too much. But like if you're running the Wano package, isn't one that like really makes that oppressive. It's okay in Wano package.
It would be the Nami leader.
Right, big deal. You take a double attack. As long as it doesn't have banish, you get those cards to defend more attacks, right? It's just a matter of getting rid of that, like Gum Gum Giant and 8 cost Kata that's blocking, attacking and blocking every turn, right? I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, as long as again, the thing is, if you have Gum Gum Giant and the blocker, I need to be able to at least get rid of the Gum Gum Giant.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to
rest on. Yeah.
We're gonna have to leave it there.
Yeah, we're gonna be late to One Piece locals.
Well, anyway, that was our first episode of Go for Lethal. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your locals, tell your mom she misses you. Call her. It's fucked up, dude. Anyway, my name is Bonny. I'm here with Dean Khasanov, Zach. What's your last name?
Chamberlain.
Zack Chamberlain, and Chris Ogamura. And we'll catch y'all soon.